No,
That's a clown horse, Brooke.
not yet.
Hmm.
It is.
Yeah, well, it is 7 o'clock, so can we make a start, please? Can I welcome you all to the April Finance, Employment and Services Committee? I think there's just apologies from Brian. Everyone else is here, aren't they? So there's just Brian's. Are there any declarations of interest?
Only a small amount.
As an individual, it's really up to you to decide if you think it's a pecuniary one. I would say it's not.
No,
but
yeah, I would say no.
yes, yes. But I would think it's not a pecuniary one, but it's up to you to make your own mind up. Yes, that's fine.
I think the phrase is it's an interest but non-pecuniary.
Non-pecuniary, yes. And
yeah, same for me for the small grants. I do have an interest, but a non-pecuniary for the Colne Little Theatre.
Okay. Item 4, the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, the 4th of March. Would someone like to move it, second it, or is there any?
I'll move it, Chair.
Are there any comments on it? No?
Seconder.
Yeah, Michael.
Michael Watford.
All those in favour? Thank you. Item 5, public forum. No one here. Item 6, financial update. And as per usual, can we take A, B and C together if you want? Are there any comments on them, or has Gina anything she?
Just whilst we're on the subject of finance, just to let you all know that I have transferred a value of 60,000 from the 32-day notice account, and we should get that. I think it's around the 21st of April. So that's currently in a holding account till it's transferred back into the other account. We have also today closed the allotments account because we're now classed as having business accounts, and they do actually charge. So I think as of 1st of April, they're charging, is it something per month? Per account?
£8.50 per month on a trading account. Savings accounts are fine.
Right, yeah. So we are condensing the accounts. We've closed the allotments. We are going to close the Primet. We're just waiting for the rates bill to go out. And then we should be able to close that one as well. Keeping the Blues Festival, mainly because of its large event status, and it does state that it has to have a separate account. So keeping that one, but then consolidating the others.
Yeah, it might not be related to this exactly.
Okay.
I remember there was a discussion previously about speak to Pendleborough about getting the precepts. Is any news on that?
Yes.
It's just the accounts. That's all. That's on.
Yes, I did send an email. They did look into it and changed it about 4 times. but yeah, obviously I explained that the original email had said that they were going to be in advance. So anyway, they did change it and did say that they would do it around, was it the 7th of April or something originally?
I thought it was 28th, last one I saw.
No, that was the last one. Yeah, but the first
Oh,
one
sorry.
was around the 7th. And then there were going to be quarterly payments, but then obviously Gemma had looked into some legislation which stated that at least 50% has to be before 30 days or something from the start of the period. So now we're actually getting 50% on the 28th of April. Yes.
Then we get the other 50% in 6 months' time, which is about October.
Octoberish, yeah. But it kind of works in our favour because if we get all that, then we will have some scope to put some money aside and some interest on it. So, but it still means obviously that we still have to fund 4 weeks worth out of reserves. So we do still need that 60,000. But obviously we're fortunate that we do have reserves and we are able to do that.
And in reality, if we wanted, we could put half of what they give us at the end of April into an interest account and lock it down for 3 months before we're going to be needing it anyway.
Yeah.
Which would balance it back out, but it is more convenient for us with 2 6-monthly payments.
Yeah, the credit account obviously interest.
Yeah.
Which is, as you say, is better for us.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
it gives us more flexibility as well.
Yeah, well, it does, because if you're precepted for something, a particular item 1 year, and you said, well, we need to put an extra 100 grand on precept to pay for this. By the time you'd got the whole 100 grand with them paying it 4 quarterly payments, you'd be end of year.
Yeah.
Because by the time you got the last 25% of it, you'd be at end of year, wouldn't you? As it is now, you're going to have all of the money halfway through the year, aren't you?
Yeah.
You'll have got the whole 100% halfway through
Yeah.
the year, which I think is better for us.
Yes.
So I think we've got an half decent deal out of it.
Do it deficit till that final payment.
Yeah.
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 I hate to be correcting that. Under the old system, we got 100%
Well, yeah.
straight away.
Well, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was around
Yes,
the beginning of May.
yes,
We used to get it, but
yeah. But now we get half of it and then the other half 6 months later. I think it's the best deal we're going to get.
yeah.
I shudder to think under the new, whatever it turns out to be.
They'll have to do the same because apparently it's government legislation. And they've actually admitted it to us and pointed it
Well,
out to
they
us,
have,
haven't
yeah.
they? So,
And we have the interest we lost out,
Yeah.
basically.
I've just got one question,
Mm-hmm.
not that page, but the very first page of the next section, which is the page 1 for detailed income and expenditure.
Yeah.
It's the item 4016, software and licensing. It's just, I know that somebody at full council will probably pick that up.
Yes. That is what we've done is we've prepaid the licenses for next
Right.
for
So
this
it's
new financial year. So that will be taken out.
right.
It's showing as an overspend, but it's a prepayment.
I'm just going to say, looking at that, I know that one of the full council, somebody would bring that to light.
Right. Yes. No. It is. I would say actually that obviously these accounts that you're looking at now probably aren't really worth the paper that they're on, because we do have all the prepayments to put through and everything. So it's not.
Yeah.
It's not really showing an
It's not a
accurate
true
picture.
one. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously at the next meeting, you'll get one for the year end,
Okay.
and that will obviously make more sense.
well, like this. Can I propose that I move items A, B, and C, please?
Yep. Is it seconded?
I'll second that.
Any more questions? No? All those in favour? Thank you. Item 7, small grant application.
Yes, I was actually expecting a few more, but I didn't actually get the information in time, so I didn't put them on the report. So we just have the two to look at this meeting. These one is a new one, although we have given for it in the past. So that is the Waterside for their event. We did give them some last year as well. I think we covered the security, was it, for the event last time, Michael? Yeah. But they're asking for £1,000 towards the event this time. And the other one is obviously one that we discussed, and we'd actually advised them to reapply in April, and that was the Cone Dramatics Society for the works required to the roof of the Little Theatre.
Can I just, one quick question?
Mhm.
On that one there, I turned it over. Section number 8. The requested funding comes to a total of 2,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sorry, I do apologise. I'm reading the cover sheet.
all right, okay.
So that's what just threw me when I was reading the cover sheet. I
Uh-huh.
apologise.
Yeah, so each group have asked for £1,000, so it's 2,000 altogether.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Just for clarification, on the Waterside one, because we gave them a grant last year, which were fine,
Mhm.
and we actually, as part and parcel of that, the grant, we did the security. Yeah,
But we paid for the security.
we paid for the security. Yes.
Mhm.
If we give them the 1,000 now, are they sorting their own security out, or are we still doing? So you're sorting it out yourself.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
That's fine. Yeah.
They are actually hiring some of our gazebos, I think, are you, for the event? Yeah, that's one. So that's but I think you're trying to get another company to sponsor that, aren't you? I think. Yeah.
Can I just ask, I know, Andy, there too, probably help us. Have we got any, the repair works on the, for the roof on the Little Theatre? Have we got a full estimate of costs?
Yes, we do. It's I don't
I
know.
think it's 15,750 with VAT, I think.
Yeah, I haven't actually got it here with me. But yeah, they forwarded the actual quote.
Yeah, it's just so that we,
But it's a lot more than the £1,000.
yeah, oh
anyway, put
yeah,
it that way.
but yeah, I know they're going to ask for 1,000, but it was because at the last meeting they hadn't got the full quote for the costing of the roof. That's why I was asking about it this time. Thank you.
Yes, there was some confusion last time if there was match funding, because they didn't actually state that there was, but we have since learned that there is match funding available. So yeah.
From what I understand, they're going to be looking at approaching Cone area as well, speaking
yeah.
to Pendlebury to see if there's anything available. It's just the reserves have now been wiped out.
Yeah.
And to be able to keep viable, obviously the bills are going to be paid, and they need to be reserved back up to keep able to keep functioning.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, the one comment I would make on that is if the levelling up fund money that was applied for the in quotes heritage quarter had been done properly,
Well,
and properly what's the word, costed and administered in the first place, that would mean that Pendle now, as I understand it, have got to find somewhere in the region of 500,000 for the municipal hall. And there's this problem with the little theatre where I think that, or I get the impression that they were sort of bamboozled and cajoled into doing the fancy work at the front, which is very good and very useful, but isn't much good when you take into account this problem with the roof that was obviously existing then, and the whole levelling up fund money was badly. Well, it was just a mess because this is talking about Pendle as a whole. If we exclude Nelson, which has its own special tap that they seem to get money out willy-nilly, the amount that was given to Carl was much less than neighbouring boroughs received. I think Accrington got a huge amount for their market, and other boroughs around it, but the average was something like 15,000 to 20, not 15 million to 20 million, and we got 6.5, I think it was. So, and all goes back to the motto: if you don't ask, you don't get, and we didn't ask. But the bollards are painted nicely.
Anyone else? So is anybody going to move anything? Both of them?
Both of them, yeah.
Are they both seconded?
I'll second that, Chair.
Those in favour?
Oh, whilst we're on this subject, so at the time the new budget was agreed, we hadn't paid Gib Hill their grant for the nature reserve, and what we normally do is obviously top it up to the 15,000, but because I didn't put enough in the budget, because it needed to be 5,000 more basically, but we'd already agreed it. So I'm guessing that you still want to top it up to 15,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that will come as an amendment for environment for the budget. There will be a few things actually, because we've just had word that United Utilities are putting their prices up 23.9%. So that's not in the budget. There are also various different things that need to moving about, like loan repayments and things like that, and loan fees. Yeah.
Just such is life, as they say.
Yeah.
August.
In theory, the amount we've got to add back to that pot of money to top it back up to 15 grand is going to be another 5 grand more, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more than
Which
what
we were
we actually
expecting.
agreed. But yeah,
If they'd have put the bid in when we expected them to, it would have gone a month since.
yeah.
In any case. So it's as broad as it is long, isn't it?
I was just going to make an observation about United Utilities, where they're saying they want an extra 23% this year. Well, it's got to help cover the 25% that they paid out in shares last year.
Well, yeah.
Dividends,
Dividends,
yes. Dividends to the shares. Lovely. So if they didn't pay them dividends out, they could actually do some of the work they're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Well, I think they'll grab the 20% and do the same work they were going to do anyway. I don't think you'll see any difference.
Well,
We'll
no, I
see,
don't.
won't we?
I don't think you will. Whilst we're on the grants policy, there is a slight amendment to the policy. That just need. There's obviously differences in value, but there was one thing that David you wanted to change, which is it currently states that multiple applications from the same organisation in 1 year will not usually be supported. Now we're proposing that we change that to will not be supported and take the usually bit out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the logic behind that, but there is the proverbial bus or earthquake or something that will, I don't know, take Gib Hill. We know there are mines underneath it. If one of them suddenly collapsed and they needed more, I think we've got to be open to a genuine, unforeseen problem.
Well, maybe if we put will not be supported unless it's extenuating
Only
circumstances.
in
Yes.
unless there are extenuating. Yes, yeah, that's fine.
But
Extenuating is a better word. But it's just because you can't.
we couldn't put much more in anyway, and it'd have to affect Pendle as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Because technically they're still the landowner.
Yeah, that's a poor example.
but yeah,
I mean, technically the responsible body is not the nature reserve, it is the landowner, and the landowner is Pendle Borough Council. So if a mine shaft did decide to show itself, it'd be down to them, because they're the landowner.
I'll change it to the little theatre. A bus ran down River Street and crashed into the little theatre.
Wait a bit, buses insurance then, wouldn't it?
They like it, buses, don't they?
But
Yeah.
well, yeah, well, I think we can accept it with, you know, exceptional circumstances sort of thing.
So can I get a proposer and a seconder for that?
What I didn't want to do were end up in a situation where we do it for one sometime and they're not sort of exceptional circumstances, and then for the rest of that year and forevermore, they'll all be wanting to do it more than once.
Well, you
won't
did
they?
it for
We'll set a
so-and-so.
precedent, won't we? And that's what I don't want to do. Yeah, but if it's a dire emergency, then yeah. So all those in favour of that? Thank you. Number 2, Albert Road.
Well, the gist of it, basically, as we all know, is
It ain't going
we're
anywhere.
having to run through hoops, etc. The project cost is now what we thought it was going to be for the whole project, just to do the shop, basically.
Will this have anything to do with any of the delays that have been pushed back at us?
Oh, yes,
Ah.
obviously. And changes in materials and alterations to drawings. Yes.
So it's pushed it back and it's now increased the costs. That's
It
it.
has increased the
substantially.
costs because they put certain conditions on the planning permission that was granted.
Yeah.
So I mean, we arranged for a meeting of all parties to come to the shop to have a look. So that they're all there together, so we're all on the same page and we know what's going on. Cars, who we'd originally sent the purchase order to do the windows, because obviously Pendle Borough Council have said now we need to save as much as possible. They don't do refurbs. They just do new, and that's it. So they basically just pulled out of the project.
They won't recondition shop from where they'd have put us a new one in. Well, that's down to a certain committee that is part and parcel of Pendle Borough Council, and it's all their fault. So if anyone wants to, any public want to blame anybody, they can blame them.
I'm not going to committee yet, so can't blame them.
No.
And then you'll have to bring up-
But originally we had decided that we would apply for a variation to take some conditions away. However, speaking to the architect, he doesn't think that was it, who was it? Growth Lancashire, that they would back down on anything anyway. And the length of time, obviously it costs you money to appeal, and the length of time and delay would just end up costing just as much anyway. The use of the stone cladding at the back is not going to make that much of a difference to the price. So he said he wouldn't bother. But yes, so this is where we are. We have a new quote, obviously, and that's pushed it up to 140,000. That's just for the shop. But it does include the first floor windows though. So obviously if we do those, we're changing them to sash. So that when we come to doing the flat, if we still want to do that, then we don't have the cost of the windows because they've already been done.
Flat conversion, or whatever you want to call it, the one big thing from memory from looking around there is, or would be, the provision of a decent staircase of some sort that wasn't like climbing the north face of the Eiger to get up there. But the rest of it is in reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
condition.
your windows is a
That's the
large
main.
cost.
Yeah.
So if you've got that out of the way, then
I think like Gina's just said, the important, if we get the windows done, that's a big chunk of cost off any refurbishment. And it may be that we still decide to use it as office or storage or something, but it's been empty for a while now. We just need to bite the bullet and get on with it and get it sorted, because it's an empty shop that we don't really need.
It's basically costing us money every day. We have to pay the council tax, we have to pay the bid levy,
Yes.
we have to pay, obviously,
Yeah.
People have no business in there.
yeah, no, it goes to the owner to pay.
The downside with it is we would have had two incomes if it had gone through as it should have done. An area committee hadn't
Stuck there.
stuck their big oar in certain people. We would have had two incomes from it, which would have paid the loan off a lot easier. Now we're only going to end up paying more, and we'll only have one income, because we won't have an income from the upstairs until we've spent even more money on it, making it into a flat. So the income we've got, you know where I'm coming from, don't you, Steve? The income that we've got coming from the project will be probably only half what it would have been. So it's going to take twice as long to get his money back.
Yeah. Well, you have to borrow it for longer, and because of that, you pay more
interest.
So, yeah, this is where we are.
Because on a short-term loan, you get a better interest deal anyway. When you go longer, they don't know whether it's going to go up, down, or where it's going to go. So you get stung and loaded.
And the longer we leave it, the interest rates are just going up.
Yeah.
So this is where we are.
I also probably started to number 18, we're paying for VAT, that's what we lose.
We lose, yes. We can't claim it back because it's for a commercial venture.
Yeah. We lose out both ways on that.
We do, yeah.
And I know that will be picked up by certain people.
Well, yes.
We can claim that back up windows.
Don't know if we can.
Upstairs.
Yes.
Maybe on the upstairs, yeah, because we're not renting that out. as
No,
yet.
we can claim it back because it's maintenance, isn't it? They've had it, they shot at. If it's maintenance, you can, if it's a commercial venture, you can't claim it back. But it's maintenance of a building. It's shot at, it's past its sell-by date, is them windows. So is the shop front. So I think we can claim it back. Well, what do you think, Howard? I think it's maintenance.
I think there are better qualified accountants to argue our
Well,
case.
Before
Well,
we
we're not renting the upstairs, are we?
No.
So it would be classed as maintenance
Yeah.
for the windows, I'm thinking, just for the upstairs windows.
Yeah.
though.
that certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this town hall's, well, I could say it up next item, but I'll say it now because we're already talking about VAT. The new boilers has VAT on it,
Yes,
but we can claim that VAT back because that is maintenance.
yeah,
So if the shop front is clapped out and going to fall down, is putting a new one in maintenance, or is it tarting it up and making it look better? And it's a commercial venture. I think it's maintenance.
I don't know about the shop front, I don't think you'd get that.
Well, we could ask the question from someone more qualified.
We could. I mean, basically, the only reason why we're doing this is to rent it out
Yeah.
again.
Well,
But it's also maintained now on High Street as well.
Yeah, but they don't look at that.
The main point of the site.
Yeah, the
Ins and outs.
there is that rule as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bring engines.
Well, no,
you would if you did the upstairs as a separate project.
but it's all on the same quote and it's all on the same invoice. So I don't think. Yeah, we
Looking
can
at-
look into it. It's obviously a grey area.
It could be worth getting some more info on it because if it was two separate things, we might be able to claim that back on the upstairs, might we?
Possibly.
And if that is the case, I think it needs to be two separate things to get the VAT back. Are we just noting this?
Well, we need to make a recommendation to full
Right.
council. Because obviously we need full council
Yeah, we-
approval in order to apply for that one.
What we're trying to get ahead is we've got to consult to apply for the loan,
Yes.
yes? And we need to get us head round how much we need for the loan to cover number 2 and the boilers, which will no doubt be coming into town hall maintenance.
Mhm.
Because we've got to get the loan to cover them both,
Yes.
because we can't leave the boilers until the shop front's been paid for, because by then there'll be no heating at all in place.
Right.
They're gonna have to be done together,
Yeah.
so we need to decide how much we're going to need to, because we don't want to go out to consultation for, say, a consultation for a loan for 250 grand, for instance, and then find out we need 300 grand and have to go out for another one for the 50 grand, do we?
It would be easier if we just do one consultation and say.
How
we're
much
applying
is-
for
how
one
much it-
for this and this.
How much are the boilers going to cost us?
Well, that's something that we're unsure of at the moment. No, well, we've had a few people come and look to quote. We also had someone from the Chamber of Commerce come and do like a net zero review. And he actually confirmed what we thought in that we would have to replace gas with gas. That's the only option we have in this building.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the renewables apparently you need a lot of storage for the fuel element, and we just have nowhere. So he's just said from your layout, you are going to have to replace gas with gas. Unfortunately, it's your only option.
If you're going to use biofuel, you'd need a massive yard to store it all in, to fire a boiler up, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Which we haven't got.
But he did say, we talked about a number of different options. He did say he was going to provide a contact for an engineer that he knew that's worked on a lot of old churches. And apparently he said he would have more of an idea of what would work in this building and what wouldn't. So I need to chase that up because he hasn't forwarded me that contact yet. And then obviously we need to make a decision on what we want to do. And I mean, there are, I've spoken to someone at Pendlebury Council, and there are certain grants available for things like this. So whether we would then be able to put a grant funding bid in, which obviously would mean that we wouldn't need to borrow over.
So they're staying next door. Next door. And I think one full shop next door. At least they what we could be. He said splitting that down.
Yeah. I think there's some sense in that. If you're saying what I think you're saying, Andy, is if we go over the top a little bit for the figure that we go out to consultation on, we whatever the figure is we decide on and consult on, we can't go over it. But if we've gone over the top, we could go under it if the quotes come in less than what we thought.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have to go out and consult again.
But like the money's there.
Yes.
Like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Like I said, but we'll have just there for that.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah.
Try to look at what we can be looking at.
Yeah.
Just like even if you want to start off. It's an option.
Yeah, it's like having a budget, isn't it? You can use less than the budget, but you can't use more because it isn't there. But if we had the facility there for loan approved, if we needed it, we could go for anything under that amount, couldn't we?
Right.
But I think we need to be getting his heads round a figure because it's, well, as we all know, it's April now, and we need to get the boilers in particular done. There's no, I don't think the shop's as urgent as the boilers, but if we don't do boilers in summer, it's going to take us a month or a couple of months to do it. If we tell them to start doing it in November, we're going to have no heating in place at all until about February, because everything will be stripped out. So it needs doing in summer, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have we got a ballpark figure of what the cost of the boiler would be? Is it 50,000?
It was 50,000, but that was.
It's about 2 years since, isn't it?
That it was a couple of years ago, but we have asked for a requote, so we're just waiting for that to come through.
Well, we need,
But obviously we did discuss maybe adding to that system to put more control in it.
Well, yeah, some of these big pipes, so that we can knock one side of the building off, or knock a floor off, or knock
yeah, we need
a couple of rooms off. They need some electronic valves, so they can be switched off electronically,
yeah,
which could be coupled to thermostats. And in certain rooms that we're not using, unless it drops under about 10 or 12, it wouldn't even flick on. It just needs to keep damp off to stop building going, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In winter. It's a bit better than a frost start, otherwise your plaster will start going soft and
Yeah.
things like that. But you could keep it at 8 to 10 degrees in certain parts of the building, and it'd just kick in if it needed to. And valves would open and shut as required. So
we
you'd probably
need,
spend another 10 or 15 grand on them valves.
well, we need to get somebody to give us
Yes.
a worst case.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's why I wanted to, I'm gonna chase this guy up to see if we can get the engineer guy to come and have a look.
Oh.
And then he's gonna know better than,
I mean, presumably we need somebody that's worked on old steamships or something, because they've got pipes about the same size. And churches, yeah, but
so whether, I mean, obviously we need at least 110.
we need 150.
Well, if we're still gonna put the 30 in, well, I was suggesting that we put 40 in from reserves because it made the figures look a bit better. Rather than the 30 that we agreed.
Right, well,
That
just-
means still borrow the 100,000 for that.
but this-
However, obviously we're gonna have to borrow, if we're doing it all in one, we're gonna be borrowing more anyway, so.
Put down, well, I've put,
what do we think?
I put quite a big figure down here, but, on listen to what you just said there. How about 250 to 300,000? And that's doing the whole lot together. Upstairs and downstairs next door, and all the boilers and pipe work here.
I wouldn't have thought
Not
we'd
the
need
pipe
that.
work,
To do the pipe work, we no,
that's,
don't
no.
don't touch it with the proverbial.
But putting
Right.
some kind of an element of
There's-
control on, yeah,
Yes,
That's what that, I didn't mean changing the pattern, put the controls on.
right, yeah.
Yeah, if you put valves in,
Yeah,
because the only way you can stop all these big hefty pipes wasting a load of money heating water up in that pipe when it's not needed is to shut them off.
yeah.
And that's the only way you can do it.
I can't see it being. You say it was what 50,000 2 years ago,
Yeah,
so say it's 75 now.
yeah.
Add
then
another
the-
add another 25 for the
That's 100.
bits and doos.
Yeah, and 140-foot shop.
Yeah, so it is 250. Yeah, well, no, it's 100 for the shop, isn't it?
Less the 40 we're going to put in.
Yes, it's 200,000.
But if you go for slightly-
Upstairs as well, but that's what I'm saying.
But you've no contingency there, so
Yeah,
you
no.
got the way you do.
I put the extra 50 in to complete the upstairs as well.
If we did 250,000, then yeah, we could complete the flat.
Yeah, yeah, that's what.
I don't think we'd do the staircase.
But
Give
obviously,
us the option. No, I just,
but it does increase your loan repayments for the year.
I know,
It
yeah,
does
yeah.
affect your budget.
yeah, yeah.
Probably.
But can I just ask before we get too far, just on this, what's on this piece of paper that you've sent round?
Mhm.
It says the total interest is 48, whatever, but I can't see that on the.
If you look at your last payment, basically, I know it's a bit small, but obviously you're borrowing 100 and you're eventually paying £148,879.24. So that's how you know what your interest payment is.
What?
Your total interest payment. That's after the 17 years. But obviously it's going to take
Oh,
us.
sorry, right, yeah. No, well, you've put a nice big yellow line across the middle, and
Yeah, that's because that's when we
right. No,
it kind of
we're going to do it quick. Yeah, well, that's what I couldn't.
pays it. Yeah, we start getting the benefit from the rental income
yeah.
that we receive.
Yeah.
However, we may not actually get the rental income that we think we're going to get.
Well.
So it's one of them as well.
Yeah.
And given that we'd have to take this loan over 70, well, that would change anyway if we were putting the boilers in with it as well. We'd probably have to take it over a different length. But a high street's going to be a thing 20 years down.
Well, who
You know,
knows?
it's one of them.
Who knows? We can't.
God predict the future.
We haven't got a crystal ball.
We haven't.
And looking at the way things are working out, it seems to be smaller towns with a variety of shops like we are that are weathering the storms better than others. I can't, other than Boots, I can't think of a national that well, I suppose Nissa is a national, but it's
got
franchise.
Savers, that is one.
Yeah.
Get that.
Oh, Greg. Yeah, well, we don't count Greg. We've got two Gregs. Never mind.
But other than that, I know what you mean.
The majority of shops are owned by local. Well, I say locals. There are a variety of uses and what have you. If the market, there's a danger that we might come over burdened, wrong word, but with places to eat, because there's another new one opening, advertised down outside the Dowdies or what was Riley's, Little Italy or something, and there's another one that's opposite that. So
Yeah.
we might end up just, but we might end up as a place where people come, have a bite to eat, and then nip to Wycollar and look at the ruins or go and climb Pendle or whatever. So all we can do is what we can do is have as best a guess as we can, which is we need to do the shop anyway. We need to do something about the heating.
Boilers. Yeah.
So the longer we leave it,
The more it's going to
the
cost.
more
as well.
expensive it's going to cost us in the
Yeah.
long run. So we might as well add another. Well, I don't know. Do we double it and say 34 years? That's somewhat a hostage to fortune. We may be taken over by America by then. I mean,
What do
are
you
you
think?
are you talking of just adding, juggling these figures a bit to make it? And what time scale are you looking at? Or do you think we can? Obviously, the longer we do it, we pay more interest, but we pay less each month
Repayments per
Yeah. or per year. Or,
It's the repayments per year that we've got to watch the figure, because that's got to come out of the budget.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's a straight taxpayer cost, as it were.
But the longer, the greater the number of years, there's a danger of ending up in a situation whereby you borrow 250 grand, but you end up paying 550 grand
Yes.
back. You pay more than double back what you've borrowed because of interest the longer you let it run.
Yeah, well, it'll be fine.
I mean, presumably, is the interest fixed once we've got it?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that it doesn't
So-
change.
so if
throughout
we-
the year
That's
unless
another
you're
reason for
variable.
doing it sooner rather than
Adelaide,
later,
let's
because there's
you
a
know,
tendency
we better
that-
fix it at 5 or 6 than 4.5.
we don't know where interest rates going, do we?
No, well, at the minute it's
Well, the plan we've got in charge now, they could go anywhere. It could be 0 by Christmas, it could be 10% by Christmas where she's going, because she hasn't a clue.
But also, the thing is, also thinking is, the sooner we get the shop done, the sooner we get a tenant in there.
The sooner we've
We
got
get-
some
we
money
get-
coming in
Yeah.
to
And then-
offset the
we
payments,
will have to
yes.
get a tenant in there. We've got the 2 lots of it coming in to help us with the
Right.
repayment. Yeah, which is better than what we are doing, because we're paying out on 2 properties, basically.
Well, we want it to go to full council in a fortnight, don't we?
Yeah.
Right. So
No,
can I ask Steve a question? How onerous a task is it? And I know it's year end at minute, so everybody's snowed under with work.
Yeah.
How onerous a task is it to give us some figures to compare? How long realistically it would take us to pay it off if we only did the downstairs and the upstairs windows, but didn't do the flat and only had one income? And how long it would take us to pay it off borrowing a little bit more and do the whole lot and end up with two incomes. And if we got that figure before it went to full council,
Yeah, but we need the figure for the boiler as well, don't
yes, we
we? So
need
we
that.
can get it
We
in.
do, yeah.
So if we're going to say we want to borrow 250,000, which gives us definitely the downstairs and a boiler,
Yeah,
and might give us,
Yeah.
you know, we might save a bit here and a bit there, that
Yeah.
we can do the flat
Yeah.
with a bit of,
Yeah.
you know, we can
Yeah.
buy a new carpet and all the rest of it, and
yeah.
bung some emulsion on the, not call it emulsion.
The only reason why I was asking Steve for both sets of figures is when we have both sets of figures to look at, it might be a no-brainer to help us decide which way we need to go. Because it might be a no-brainer to not do the upstairs. On the other hand, it might be a no-brainer to do it. We've got to look at which is most beneficial for us.
And we need both sets of figures at the stage now, because we know that there's going to be bones picked at their full council, and we know they're going to be scrutinising it.
Yeah.
That with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah, well, they can scrutinise it as much as they want because it's their fault. It's all costing this much.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I'm thinking that an estimate for the boilers, I think we should add 100,000 on for that. That would include all the controls. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that gives us 200,000.
Yeah,
Yes,
That was my reason.
yes. That's knocking the
But then
40 grand
it's
up at
whether-
one rate.
it's whether you add a bit more on so we can do the
Well, look, I think,
flat and the,
but I think the cost of the flat in the grand scheme of things is neither here nor there, is it?
not once you've done the windows.
I mean, you know, there was talk of doing that in-house anyway.
Yes,
Yes,
Which I know it's a cost, but it's
Yeah.
it can be a cost
it can
over
be,
yeah,
can be a cost over 6 months.
yeah,
yes,
And it's
Yeah.
when it's raining and they can't paint a bench or something,
Yeah.
they can do in there.
Yeah.
But how would you do that over the 17 years or 25 or
well, it
what?
depends which would be beneficial. Yeah,
Work in reverse to air that and then see how many years it's historical.
Yeah, well, I mean, this arrived at 17, but you wouldn't get any extra. Well, we would, wouldn't we? Because we know that if the boilers, however, what percentage it's more efficient,
yeah, we should save some money.
we
that
can
way.
say, right, instead of paying £6,000 a month or whatever it is, we're only going to pay 3. So we instead
Because
of
that.
yeah.
instead of rent, we
Yeah.
put a nominal
Yeah.
saving of.
So over the 4 worst months in winter, there's potentially a 12 grand saving there,
Yes.
isn't there?
10 years, that's 20 plus.
Which would go to offset the payments for boilers anyway.
Yeah,
But once we've put the windows in upstairs, and interior wise, that's all there is to do at flat, isn't there?
Yeah,
Is the
sure.
interior. So for sake of another 15, 20 grand to do the interiors, it might be beneficial to do it and start getting 100 quid a week rent up flat. Which is another 5 grand a year coming in, isn't it? So it might
Yeah,
be
but
more
in-
beneficial to do it.
but in terms of 5,000 a year to what was it, 12,000 in 4 months? You know, that's what we should be.
Mm.
You know, that would be nice to have it all done, but you know, how much does it really? I can't remember what it needs now. But
The bigger saving is on boilers.
yeah. So I think it's the boiler and getting the shop front
Mhm.
or the frontage of the building sorted is what we should do,
Should
Yeah.
be,
and
yeah.
then you know the rest can be covered by normal.
Yeah,
You know, the rent from the shop could pay for the upstairs, rather than hog tie ourselves too much to borrowing too much.
Yes,
That was a bit convoluted, but
but
you
you
get,
did. We did actually agree to use the rental payments to service the loan.
Yeah.
Because if we do that, it means that we don't have to consult as much.
yes, sorry.
So that's why we'd said that, but if we're adding the boilers in, then that obviously changes that.
Yes,
So,
We've got to do boilers because there's the biggest saving.
yes,
Someone's been great to meet with the boilers as well.
Yeah.
I think we should bite the bullet and go for the 200. Then we, look at grants that we might get. And if we do that,
then that can,
I mean, presumably, looking at I didn't look at it in detail, but if we find that we've got,
you can just pay
we can pay a
off the
lump
loan
sum
anyway, yeah.
to shorten the time. So
Well, if
Or-
we go
or
for
we do-
200 grand and somebody
gives us
is
50
really kind and gives us a 50 grand
grant for
grant,
Yeah.
we only need to draw down 150 at loan and we don't need to debt
Yeah.
the other loan out and don't have the cost, do we?
Or we take less from reserves.
Or we take less from reserves.
right.
We can play it different ways, but we
What
need
gives
the
us
figure
It gives us more
because
flexibility.
we've got to go out to Joe Public and consult about
Anyway,
having
yeah.
the thing. So are we suggesting that we recommend to full council
200.
that we go out to consult on a loan for 200 grand for the combined
Yes.
thing, the shop and
Because
the boilers?
that way it's clear what the project is. It's to do the shop and it's to sort the heating out, which
Yeah,
Yes.
probably in 1893 it was the bee's knees for doing it. Then they took the coal away and put the big boilers in. So it's very clear then that those are two projects that we're doing.
Can I ask you a question? So you say 200,000 plus money from reserve.
yeah, that's 40,000 from reserve.
So we're looking at 200. That's if the boilers cost 100,000.
Yeah,
Then we're looking at 140 or 160 for next door.
Yeah.
Looking at some of their figures there.
Yeah.
And it's like it's going up.
yeah,
The longer we're leaving, it's going to go up more next one.
but like we say, we have to do boilers, so
Yes.
including that
Yeah,
in with it.
Can we go in front of council with a number of 200,000 without us making sure we've had the inspection of the boilers to get a more accurate estimate of what it is going to cost?
I don't know, because they will ask for quotations.
Mm.
But you can start the consultation. I suppose if you end up borrowing less than you've said, then it's not.
the
That's
danger
traditional,
is that we dilly-dally about. But with
And
the
then-
boilers certainly, as was said earlier, we need to get it done before November. Gone are the days when it used to be, all right, it's coming up to spring bank holiday now, so we're turning the boilers off in the factory, and you might, for the next few weeks, wear an extra jumper, and we're not turning them on till wherever. So during September, you might, you can't do that nowadays.
No.
So it
Yeah.
needs it needs sorting, and the shop needs
Yeah.
sorting because it's a blot on the lens, on
It is.
the shopscape or whatever the streetscape. So we need to do that. We say 200,000, and all this. So you can get this, and you can apply for this, that, and the other. Well, no one suggested that up to now. So I think we recommend that it's the 200,000. If means while before we actually come to ask for the money, we found out we only need 150 or something. Well,
Yeah,
it's a win-win, isn't it? But if we don't ask now, it's harder to go back in 6 months' time and say, sorry, we've got,
We need a
Yeah,
bit,
but
we need a bit more.
which is the
do another
situation that Bengals
consultation
ended
on-
up in.
Yes, with all this. Well,
And you need to mean that is a prime example.
Because what we've got to watch, particularly with the boilers, doesn't matter so much about shop, but with the boilers, we don't want them in here in August because of blues.
Yep.
And they've got to get it done before it becomes freezing cold.
in July.
Well,
Face last year's anything to
but
do.
you'd lose downstairs room. You'd have problems with storing all stuff in cellar and
Yeah.
everything
Mm.
because of them working down there. Because there's beer and everything, isn't there? So
No,
we don't want them in here either at Blues weekend or for a couple of weeks before, do we?
so it's urgent to get
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. On a time scale, they want to come in ideally week after Blues in September and start and get it done, don't they?
Ideally before that. But ideally July, and we just they
Yeah,
have
but
a
we'd have
holiday.
to be able to use all the rooms here for Blues.
Yeah, but
But obviously, this, if we do this, this will change the agreed budget for next year. Because the repayments will be different, the interest
Yeah,
payments will be
yeah.
different, and the fee on the loan will be more.
Hmm.
So I'm suggesting obviously that when we work it out, that is just taken, the contingency line that we added in, it's just gonna have to come out of that,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So it just means that we add less back into earmark reserves.
Yeah.
Than we thought we were gonna put in. But the same difference in taking out of reserve.
And,
But in
just,
a way,
and if Steve's correct with this VAT thing about there being a limit for you claiming it back, I think on the boilers it needs to be 2 projects: the boilers as one project, and as a second project, the valves. We don't want to get stung for not being able to claim VAT on any of it. So it wants to be a separate order.
But I think we would be all right on the heating for here. It's just the other one that has the grey areas.
It's the windows on the top.
Did we claim it all?
but if we,
Yes,
what
because it's not something that we're selling. We're not.
Right.
It's a service we provide.
But and the sooner we get it in, the sooner we make the savings.
Yeah.
So some of those savings can go back into
The budget.
yeah.
Yes.
But,
Well, they will, because on what she's got in for gas for this year, which
Yeah.
is based on last year, there'll be an underspend, won't there?
Yeah.
And that
There should be.
underspend will offset some
Some
of
of
the
the-
payments
yeah.
for paying loan back
Yeah.
each year.
yeah. So I'll move that we go for 200,000
200. Yeah.
and start the consultation as an
Yeah.
as soon as
As soon
as
as.
soon as
yes.
it would be as soon as after whenever the full council is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will look at getting all the forms and the documents together. So it can be approved in 2 weeks' time.
And then get some quotes, because there must be somebody who's short of work who would snap your hand off to do quote. There must be. Everybody can't have too much work to do, can they?
It's traders, isn't it? They're just hard work. They're all we're busy.
Well,
Uh,
from a bonus if they finish it.
Yeah.
Free
Right,
ticket-
so
free
that's-
tickets for the Blues if we could finish on time.
So basically, if we move that, Howard's moved it, can't you?
Yeah, that we recommend to,
Patricia seconded it, those in favour. Now that, to me, covers item 8 and 9. Yes?
yes.
Well,
Is there anything else on maintenance? for
Well, what else
council?
is for?
yeah,
The clock's wrong.
Do we get a refund? It's not working properly.
it's just not been.
It's not what's winding up.
Not finding them.
Well, there's plenty of wine up there. Just saying.
Yeah,
The biggest one.
Yes, the one thing that I do need to mention with the town hall maintenance is there is quite a lot of remedial work that is required from the asbestos survey that was done recently for the town hall. Certain areas or certain they need to be removed, and obviously we need to remove them properly. And it's not cheap. It's about £1,000 per item, and I think there's about 8 or 9 items listed on this report.
you can't penny pinch on that with
No.
asbestos. It's got to be done right, end of, and you just got to do it.
Yeah.
It's got to bite the bullet.
I mean,
So it's just to let you know that there's going to be like a 10 grand. bill
pre-
for that.
presumably as well, little stickers have been put around saying don't drill in here
Yes.
because there may be asbestos,
Mhm.
etc.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends how big it is and how um, stable it is as to the cost of getting rid of it.
Yeah,
But
there was some in the loft space that needs removing. Also, in the plant room in the cellar.
you know, that'll be old lagging.
Well, that will get done when they do boilers anyway, won't it? They'll have to check that out.
But I think if we get proper licensed people to take it
Well,
away,
even if they're putting that in, they would need licensed people to get rid of it.
Thing is, they'll put a surcharge on top of that as well.
well, yeah.
Well, but you've no choice, basically. I mean,
So
look well, wouldn't it, that we asked Charlie from down the street to although it isn't as
You made him up, get him up, not slim to do it. He'll take it away.
yeah, yeah. You mean Mr. Watson? Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you mean.
Yeah.
It having had in my working life a whole lot removed. It's not as it's easier. It turns out to be easier than you think.
yeah,
It's basically as long as it's in one piece and not being broken up, you're all right. It's when it's people are bashing it about and everything.
So when you break it, you kick a dust up, that's the problem. Yeah. If there's no dust, you're all right.
yeah. So that was just to tell you that
Well,
we will be getting a bill.
I don't think you can make any savings on that. Whatever it is, it's whatever it is, and we'll just have to pay because it's got to be done right.
Yeah.
Once it's done, it's done. You're not going to replace it. When you replace it with something,
Well,
inert.
yeah, you're not going to put more asbestos there, are you?
And
Wonder-
it wouldn't be right for council to employ some cowboy to do it on cheap. It just wouldn't be
No.
right. We've got to have it done right.
Yeah.
So is that it for 8 and 9 now then?
Yep.
Item 10. Items for future month's agenda. Is there anything? No?
The only thing that I can think of for maybe not next meeting, but a future meeting will be the review of the grounds maintenance contracts. Because that needs to be done.
When do they run out? This autumn,
Next March,
next March.
yeah. But with
So
the
we've
bit
got to
of
do it
big
by
like,
autumn,
changes in.
unless we want to run the extension rule.
It'd probably be better if she was here. She's back in July.
July. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ideally, we need to know what we're gonna be paying by November time, don't we? The budget.
Well, yeah, when we're going to new contract prices from 1st of April next year, when we're setting this budget in November-ish, we need to know what the figures are going to be for having grass cut up park, for instance, and having bush shelters done and various other things. We need to know what the figures are to slot them in budget, which is what we did last time. Well, we tried to do it last time, and then we ended up getting everything late, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think came
Higher than what we thought,
Yeah.
twice the price.
which
Yeah.
messed us up.
I mean, that's the one thing that tempting fate that probably won't happen this time because there hasn't been as sharp a rise in prices as there was
As there was
before
there.
last time.
Yeah.
Apart from their national insurance, etc.
Well,
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yes, but I mean, we can at least have a
Yeah, we can have a guess. what
we can
that's
have a
gonna be.
guess that we know how much ours has gone up. So we just multiply that by,
Yeah.
you know, apply that to a proportion of their.
But that's where you will get problems because a lot of people will put the prices up to cover the extra in the
Yes,
wages.
yeah.
So would there be any advantage in us suggesting to the contractors and see what they say of extending it for you?
Well, there's one problem in amongst that in that Pendle do some of it, don't
Yeah. They
Yeah.
do.
they? I mean, they'll still exist for another year, but that's getting pretty close to when they probably don't exist. Won't exist.
Now, if they didn't exist,
But
and the new authority didn't want to do it at a
Well-
similar price, there's a fair hike up to the next best one
yeah, I mean, the
from
other
last time.
possibility is that, you know, somebody in that direct works or something, well, you know, we could,
Start up on their own.
we start up and so, you know, this possibility,
But I
but
definitely
it's
think
another wrinkle that we've got to
Because
remember.
Pendle cut a lot of other people's grass as well, you know,
Yeah.
as well as ours. And you're right, there might be a market there for somebody to set up and do it. We don't know what's going to happen. Well,
But I think we need to go through the contracts just to see if they're still valid. I would suggest possibly taking refurbishment out of the bench one because basically our lensmen do it a lot quicker than contractors do it anyway. And just have it just cleaning, which would bring the cost down.
At the moment, it often comes to our playgrounds. Over at the problem, oh, things that are which yeah, there are more complaints of social media. Last publishing that part.
Yeah, but then you see the complaints, then we go and have a look and there's nothing there. So some of the comments are old, people are just adding to them and obviously we do monitor this anyway. But I mean hopefully once we get the cameras up and running
that's it.
they're working.
Yes,
Which is probably why they went to the not so secret garden.
Yeah. But that's what we want to try and avoid, given that
you see,
the wall is
on Facebook a week
Upside.
apart, there is 2 posts showing some fire damage to a piece of equipment on the Elkincoats play area. It doesn't take a genius to realise that the second one is nothing more than somebody reposting the photo of
Yeah.
the first one. So there hasn't been 2 fires and 2 pieces of equipment damaged. There's only one. But somebody took it into the red and posted it again a week later and said there's been another fire, but there hasn't.
The one that's damaged, is that going to be replaced or what?
what the playground equipment.
Right.
We'll just wait until the new year. Wait until we've got some money.
Yeah, until we went into New Year, which starts today, with no money to do it anyway.
And obviously we have the cash flow issue in that we're having to fund from reserves for a month. So obviously these things don't come cheap either.
Sure.
Keyboard warriors. Keyboard warriors.
But they just, I mean, if you're constantly getting graffiti every week, you're getting them setting fire to stuff every week, there comes a time where you can't just afford to keep replacing all the time. Yeah. You know, there's a reason there's no glazing in them. Because they kept getting smashed. And
Well,
then when I was thinking,
Pendle Borough Council vandalised one, didn't they? And we haven't
Oh, no,
got
they
one. We haven't got
flattened
one
it.
there now.
but actually,
Bottom of Anniballs. With
Um,
their tree, it demolished it.
Lancashire County Council have said that the developer is apparently going to put a new bus stop there. There's the new housing estate. Yeah, that one.
They probably got money. What did they develop? Council would have got money. Whatever.
Still, or whatever. I don't know if they
It
do
were a
that.
106 thing, weren't it? I think.
But,
Wherever
yeah.
it is, it stuck its place. Yes. Yeah. There were an highways thing where they took hand so much money over. Yes. Yeah. Well, there is some money in for a bus shelter.
But yeah, that was just items for a future month's agenda.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else, we'll close the meeting then, and the next one is on 6th of May.